Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jonas.
And welcome to Dave Takes It On. We've decided we're going to tackle some questions from comments that we've received over the last few weeks. So Jonas is going to ask them. We haven't rehearsed these in advance, so you're going to get what you get. So Jonas, first question, please.
Okay, so here's one to test your knowledge of preconditioning. So this was in response to our video around what EV charging speeds do you actually get. Yeah. One of our subscribers asked, is preconditioning really necessary during the summer months? I thought most batteries charge reasonably fast from 20 degrees upwards.
The answer is preconditioning is never necessary. It is sometimes really desirable and sometimes quite desirable. Let me explain. If outside overnight it goes down to minus 20 centigrade and your battery's flat, you can't charge at home, then if you try and plug it into a rapid charger, it won't do anything. A battery at that temperature will not take a decent charge. It will have to warm up. So the battery packs all have heaters in them. So if you go along to a charger of any sort in any EV and your battery is stone cold, minus 20 centigrade, and you plug it in, the battery management system will say, no, we don't want any power for charging because that will damage the battery. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a bit of the power and we're going to run the onboard heaters. And when the battery gets up to a decent temperature, then we'll start allowing some of the voltage, the current, to come in and actually charge the battery. So if it's minus 20 outside, absolutely, preconditioning, absolutely essential. Don't even go without it. And we saw the fiasco in with Chicago, wasn't it, where it got down to about minus 40 or something. Crazy temperatures. And cars just refused to charge at all. Tesla, if you program in it was a Tesla supercharger, but Tesla, if you program in the supercharger you're going to, will automatically preheat your battery on the way. What they've done now as a result of the queues they had when all these cars arrived unpreconditioned, is they've now put a timer on it. So if you are heading to a supercharger and it's absolutely minus 40 outside, it will tell you how long your battery needs to pre-warm, precondition, before it'll take a full charge. Preconditioning really comes down to, do you want to do it? And there's an advantage for doing it, there's an advantage not for doing it. The advantage for not doing it is you'll get a little bit extra range, but you're talking about 5, 6, 7, 10 miles. It's negligible. The advantage of doing it, Tesla, for example, do not want queues at their superchargers. They have found that if they do all of this, the preconditioning, telling it that you're going to the charger, everything else, they have cut the time spent at a supercharger by 25% in the last year. So you spend less time in a charger. It also means that you get out of that charger so the queues don't build up. So Tesla's priority is to get you through that charger as quickly as possible, and that always involves preconditioning. Summertime, get there in the end. It interests me to find out that I always program into the sat-nav when I'm going to charge. Even if I'm charging just down the road for a video, I'll always program it in. And the reason for that is it has surprised me on occasions. Even in the summer, my battery preconditioning has come on.
So what sort of temperatures are you talking for that?
Different batteries have different requirements, but typically the optimum battery temperature is between 30 and 40 centigrade. Now, our best summer ever, if we get up to 30, that's a miracle. But don't forget that if you leave your car outside in the road overnight, you can't charge at home, you leave it out overnight, it might drop down to 5 or 10 degrees overnight. So if you drive just a few miles to a charger, your driving won't heat the battery up, not over that distance. And also that time scale won't do anything at all. Your battery's about half a ton of solid chemicals. A 5-minute drive to a supercharger doesn't do anything. So even in the summer, if the temperature outside is plus 25, your battery might still be at plus 10. And so to get the best charging speed, your preconditioning will come on, even if the temperature at this time is plus 25, because your battery's still cold. Now, there's one other thing that I'm researching at the moment. There's a video going to come out on this, and that is is preconditioning cutting your range or costing you money? Because recently, and it's great, I love running this channel because I learn things, I watch things, I film everything, and often I film for a specific purpose, but looking back a week later, I look at video or a photograph or something, I think, I don't remember that. And I actually have got now several videos where my car is plugged into a Tesla supercharger, and on my app, on my phone, on the Tesla app, it's showing that my battery preconditioning is activated. In other words, if I arrive at a supercharger and haven't preconditioned the battery, when I plug in, Tesla will switch my battery heaters on and precondition while it's charging. So some people say it's a waste of range if you precondition on the way to a charger. My argument to that is that if you're going to be paying for it at the charger to precondition anyway, you're better off just letting it run, use the preconditioning on the way to the charger. I'm still doing research on this. I'm not sure every car can do this. I'm not sure every car will run the heaters. So there's a video coming out. Keep an eye out for that one.
So this is in response to one of our EV News videos. They've been pretty popular on the channel. So for EV News, did you mention the I-Pace that ran away at 120 miles an hour at 3 a.m. in the rain and wouldn't stop? If not, why not? Is there an agenda to the news articles that you pick for EV News?
The ones that, first of all, the news items I choose are ones I think are interesting to the viewers. So the second one is I always like to have the facts before I will make a video on a particular news topic. And this particular one struck me as really weird because no, my first thought was that's not possible. Put your foot on the brake hard enough and the brakes are more powerful than the acceleration on any car. So to me, alarm bells rang straight away. So I did a little bit of a follow-up on this one. I haven't made a video about it because I wasn't going to make an issue of it. The driver concerned claimed on the radio, he was on the telephone while he was driving, couldn't stop, he got the police out and everything else, they boxed him in. I don't know how they stopped him in the end, but it stopped. But a number of things struck me. 120 mile an hour, your battery's not going to last long at that speed. So you're going to run out of battery sooner or later. But it turned out that 2 weeks later, that driver was arrested for speeding. And it turns out that they had someone check over the car and there's nothing wrong with the car. And my suspicion with that information is that this guy went past a police car at 120 mile an hour and thought, how can I get out of a ticket? And he got on the phone, claimed his car was out of control and he couldn't stop. And once he claimed that, he had to keep doing it. Now, I don't know if he's been found guilty or not, but you always have to take these stories with a pinch of salt because for every one of these for an EV, there's probably 10 of those with a petrol car because they are much more prone to having accelerators jammed open because they have accelerator cables, whereas virtually all EVs are fly-by-wire. They don't have a mechanical connection. It's easier, and I had it on a Mini, it's easy if the cable rusts a little bit to put your foot down on the pedal, and when you take your foot off the pedal, it stays down on the floor. So I'd say this is much more common in petrol cars or diesel cars with steel cables than it is on EVs, but I'm sure it happens. It probably will happen one day. I don't think this was one of them.
So is it something that you're afraid to cover because you've got an agenda, or is it more just that it wasn't credible enough to put on the channel?
I didn't have the information as to whether it was a genuine story. I had so many suspicions that it wasn't that I didn't want to put it on the channel. And when I heard that the guy had been arrested, I definitely didn't want to put it on the channel because it's just some idiot caught speeding, found a good way of claiming it wasn't him, blamed the car, and other people had jumped on the bandwagons. All of the YouTube channels that favour the ICE cars, oh, look at EVs, you know, blah, 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 all this stuff. They jump on anything.
Do Tesla have any hydroelectric power plants?
No. Sorry, not that I'm aware of. Tesla is a very unique company in terms of power because long time ago they bought up a PV panel manufacturer company. It was a deal in-house. A lot of people complained about it, but they bought them up anyhow. So Tesla now actually own a photovoltaic panel manufacturing plant, and they make all the panels for all of the gigafactories. So if you look on the aerial shots of some fabulous people running drones over all these factories, every one has got photovoltaic panels on the roof, and they usually spell out the name Tesla in by either putting in different color panels or leaving a gap. But Tesla is a unique company, from my knowledge, that actually produces more power than it ever uses. To put that into real context, if you add up all of the power that Tesla have used to build the photovoltaic factory, to build the gigafactories, to build the cars, to build the lorries, to build the megapacks, everything, and then you add in all the energy that has gone through the supercharger network to keep the 6 million cars they've produced on the road, add up all of that energy that's ever been produced since Tesla's been in business, and they actually produce more than that. So Tesla is a net exporter of electricity. And that is a fabulous situation, because what it does mean is that other factories nearby are getting the advantage of Tesla's green energy. I think it's fabulous if we could get every company in the whole country or the world to actually produce themselves from renewable resources more energy than they use. We would have a very happy planet.
Brilliant. Can see that this is from one of our public subscribers, but perhaps they don't share all of your views, Dave. This viewer is saying, here in the UK, insurance companies are simply refusing to insure Chinese cars. So no need to add tariffs when you can't insure it or drive it on the road. Some of them are extremely difficult to insure brands. So is that actually true?
No. Simple answer, no, rubbish. The next best-selling car after Tesla is the MG4, purely Chinese, made by SAIC, and there's hundreds, thousands of them on the road. After that, you've got Volvos, Polestars, everything else. They're all made in China. So is this person trying to tell me that all of those are driving around without insurance? I would find that highly unlikely. So I'd have to say that he has probably heard a story that a friend of his who has a girlfriend whose boyfriend works with someone who tried to insure his car and it was a little bit dear. It's not our experience. Nobody seems to have trouble finding insurance. I think we're all suffering from higher premiums these days, but that's nothing to do with EVs. That's down to the cars themselves. But no, I'd have to disagree. There is no problem insuring EVs.
So another one from one of our subscribers. Why do you elongate and stress your words so much? It sounds artificial.
Do I? I hadn't actually. No. Sorry. I think what I'd like you to do sometimes is have a think. There's a radio program called Just a Minute on Radio 4. Someone of my age listened to Radio 4 rather than Radio 1 or 2. And it's a program where they have given a topic and they have to talk for a minute without repetition, deviation, or something, I can't remember what it is, or hesitation. It is very difficult sitting in front of a camera talking, and often when there's a pause, either by elongating a word or by actually just stopping talking, it's my little old mind working away thinking, what on earth am I going to say next? I'm sure I'll get better at it. I have to admit that an awful lot of my videos up to now have been scripted, and it's much easier to do a script. But more recently, I'm finding the scripting is taking a huge amount of time. And so a lot more of my videos, like this one, totally ad lib. I have no idea what questions I'm going to get. I don't even know what answers I'm going to give in reply. But it does mean you have to think really hard, and to try and talk for 1, 2 or 5 minutes in answer to a question, it's not easy. If you want to have a go, set your little phone up on selfie mode and then try and do it yourself. And
so it's not because you're a poser?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, there you go. It's official, not a poser. So we recently went to a charger located next to a Starbucks operated by Eurogroup. And so they just had a comment from a viewer just asking, can you ask your friend why Eurogroup Starbucks aren't dog friendly when most others seem to be?
No, I can't. However, what I can promise is I'll have a look into it. A lot of the chargers I will go and find who owns it, the manager of the service station, or franchised Starbucks or Costa, whatever it is. And if ever I'm filming, I always ask permission, and I get to know a lot of the managers. I wasn't aware that the Starbucks referred to, I know the one in question is just up the road. I wasn't aware that they had that policy. I do know the manager there. We had a chat last time because there's an awful lot going on there. That's the subject of a full video coming out shortly. But I will ask next time, and I'll put either a comment up in reply, or if it's worthy of it, if there's a real reason and it's worth it, I'll do a video.
Okay, there you go. We'll hope to get back on that one. Okay, so this one's not really a question, but this is more just a response to one of our previous videos from a subscriber just saying, we're about to buy and move into a new build house with an EV charger in the garage, hence it's time I switch to an EV. I'll be following your channel more closely now, Dave.
Really nice to hear that people actually watch the channel. I would like to believe that some of them were already thinking of buying an EV in the first place, and all I've done is just calm their fears or just given them a bit of reassurance to go ahead with it. I'm sure there are some people who really maybe started off as an EV hater and suddenly just watching the channels and seeing people, their experiences, are starting to say, well, I'll go and have a look at one, and that's all I can ask. A lot of people say I'm trying to force people into EVs, or I'm totally biased on EVs. I'm biased on EVs because I've owned one for the last 4 years, and I know for me that's the best choice I ever made in terms of transport. But for a lot of people, there's different situations and they want a bit of reassurance. So yeah, if we can help people, really good to hear. And I do like these comments coming in because it just gives the channel, gives me a bit of a boost.
Right, so this one is response to Tesla pricing, because they use the variable pricing structure for peak and off peak. But one of our subscribers said, in my country, the rates are 29 pence in British pence for peak, and off peak 26. So they're saying that's super cheap compared to the UK. So is it a case that Tesla prices are noticeably higher than some other countries?
No. One of the beauties, and I do this quite often, my neighbours must think I'm mad, I'll actually sit in the car and on the main display I can select chargers, superchargers, and I can scroll anywhere in the world. I did this recently in California, and you literally just scroll across until you get to California, you expand it and you can see all the charges in California, and you can click on one, it tells you how much it is. So I know that the prices are, ours are not that bad. I wouldn't say they're the cheapest, I wouldn't say they're the dearest, they're not that bad, and compared to Europe, they're also not that bad. Now, there are some countries where they don't have the same government structure, and so they might subsidise the prices, and that's great. If you can get prices down there, that's a brilliant price to charge at. But even in this country, I've got a local charger just 4 miles down the motorway, so Charnock Richards, and off-peak, I say off-peak, it wasn't a stutter, they have 4 tariffs. They have peak, they have off-peak, they have a second off-peak and a super off-peak. And the super off-peak is something like midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning, but the one down the road is 24 pence. Oh. And you think to yourself, you know, if you're having a sleepless night and you can't nod off to sleep and you do need to charge in the next day or so, maybe just have a drive down the road, fill up at 24 pence per kilowatt hour.
Probably more likely for people that work night shifts or maybe finish work later rather than getting up in the night to charge their EV.
Yeah, I know I sometimes get up in the night. There's some nights I go to bed, just can't sleep. And rather than tossing and turning in bed, I get up and I go and watch a film or something. I just give up and then at the end of the film, go to bed and usually go to sleep. But yeah, I've when they were doing 24-hour, I've often gone down to Tesco at 2 o'clock in the morning and just bought some things I needed just because I couldn't get to sleep and I just didn't want to lie in bed bored. So a very good point for maybe health workers, nurses, doctors, for delivery drivers and everything. Maybe they're still running around at 2 o'clock in the morning actually working, and for them, that's an absolute godsend.
Right, so now we've got one. Is it true that EV sales are tanking?
Yes and no. If you look at the figures for 2023, I think it was a 16% growth in Europe and 10% worldwide. So that was over 2022 figures. So there has been organic growth, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Are some people seeing declining sales? Oh, tremendously, yeah. And we go back to one of my pet favourites, which is Vauxhall Astras and Corsas. If you make a Corsa at £16,000 for a petrol one, then you try and sell an EV Corsa, a Corsa E or E-Corsa, at £26,000, you're not going to sell them. So those are not selling. Absolutely not. And Ford hit the same problem. So recently Ford has just dropped the prices of the Mustang Mach-E, dropped £8,000. And wow, sales suddenly picked up again. And what we're finding is that there are some manufacturers who believe that an EV should be able to sell at a very much higher price, 50%, 80%, even 100% higher than the petrol version. They can't sell anything. If you look at other companies like Tesla and BYD and SAIC and all of those, SAIC is it's MG4, they don't seem to have any problem selling all they can make. So you end up with a situation where it's a very mixed bag, that the ones who are making proper EVs and selling them at proper prices, they're finding they can sell pretty much all they can make. And Volvo recently just said they're no longer making ICE cars, no more petrol or diesel. They've got such a demand for the EV version.
So some of it is ICE manufacturers maybe not trying that hard to actually sell their EVs.
They don't actually want to. I mean, the subplot to that is that they're afraid that if they make the EVs cheaper, some of their existing ICE car buyers will buy an EV. Now, they make a profit on ICE cars, they make a loss on EVs. So the last thing they want is customers who are lined up waiting to buy an ICE car for a profit, switching over to an EV. So they put the price of EVs up, and they don't really care whether they sell them or not at this stage. Also, if you go back just a couple of years, they honestly thought that EVs weren't going to catch on. They really did. They thought it was a fad, that Tesla, okay, they're doing all right, a couple of Chinese ones, but people don't really want these things. And what they found over the last 2 years is there's a huge demand for them. But the demand now, the early adopters, they've gone. They've bought their cars. They'll buy anything at any price. And the same applies. I know when I used to have a normal computer, I run Apple now, but when a new graphics card came out, you used to queue up for it and you used to have to try and order it, you know, like the second it came out. And you'd pay a couple £100 over and above the list price. And these are early adopters, and that happened with EVs. They've all gone. What you've got now is proper buyers, and they look around at the price and they see, for example, Vauxhall Astra, classic example, the E-Astra is £39,500. A Tesla Model 3 is £39,900. Who in their right mind would buy a Vauxhall Astra instead of a Tesla Model 3? So it all comes down to, yeah, they don't want to sell, but the prices are coming down now. We're starting to see on the Auto Trader site and sites like that, that some of these unregistered cars that they made a year ago and they had in the showrooms for the last year, can't sell them. They're now slipping into Auto Trader with massive discounts. And I've seen discounts of £5,000, even £10,000. So that Corsa, that was the E-Corsa that was list price £26,000, go on Auto Trader, you can now see them for £19,000. It's not used, it's a brand new car. It's a year old, but it's just sat around. It's a brand new car, unregistered, being sold by the Vauxhall dealer, but they've had it for a year, they can't sell it, so they're just abandoning them, just ditching them and trying to get rid of them. Cracking bargains. The average UK price for a car, a used car, is £17,000. You can get a brand new Peugeot E208 for £19,000. That's a really good, interesting thought, isn't it? Well, thanks very much for watching. Some lively questions there. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you've got questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll cover as many as we can. It is difficult. We get a huge number of comments on every video we release, and we do release videos every day. But if you have a specific question, besides just leaving it in the comments below, you can always contact us through the email address. That's davetakesiton@gmail.com. Or if you do become a Patreon member, and details of that are linked down below, then we have far less Patreon members than subscribers, so we're able to give a much more personalised response and offer an awful lot more in return for that support. So if you would like a more personal approach and contact, then please have a look at the Patreon page. And thank you very much for watching. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jonas.